Hi, welcome back. Today I'm going to spend a little bit of time, 15, 18 minutes, talking about some of my favorite pieces of gear that I have over at my hobby station. And hopefully you might find an idea or two. So, uh, join me having a walkthrough at my very messy hobby station. So here's my corner. Again, it's messy. But you can see that I've got a file cabinet that I've got a bunch of stuff piled up on. The main part there in the center is my kids' old play desk, big messy desk that they had. They're both adult and out of the house now, so I went to Home Depot, got a 4x8 sheet of good grade plywood, had that sawn in half there, primered it, painted it, and set it down on top of the desk. So I've got a big long workstation there that's pretty secure. I don't have it fastened down. I could easily screw it to the desk, but there's enough weight there and I've got it centered and it's balanced well enough. You can see I've got several lights there. The first light is a Neat Fi. It's okay. It's really flexible and it's handy. My eyes aren't the greatest, and I'm finding that this one, which I think is around 2,000 lumens, uh, check the description, I'll add something there later, is actually not quite bright enough for me, but I love the flexibility of the swivel. It's a really handy light, and also the color is quite good. I also have just a very cheap uh, lamp that I got at the local hardware store. It's quite bright. The color's a little weird, but I just use it for sheer lumens. It's sort of flexible that I can move it around and pivot it a bit. It's got a couple different brightness settings, but I just always have it blasting full away. Okay, so the first thing is a wet palette here. This is one of Red Grass's palettes. I don't remember exactly which model. I'll put it in the description. Lots of folks talk about wet palettes. Probably the biggest tip for me is there's actually two pads under here, and I got that from watching a video from Vince Venturella. Huge help. I live in a pretty dry area of Southern Oregon. Two pads in there makes a big difference. You'll notice I have a little desktop humidifier right here. Again, I'll put that in the description. It's nothing overly fancy, but I put it right here and it helps do a little bit of moisture on the wet palette. That way things don't dry out terribly badly. This may seem this may seem a little odd, but I've got a separate container here, just a little, plastic Tupperware thingamabob. I use that for thinning water for the palette. I have I don't know, that's the cleaning jar doodad thing, but I keep separate clean water for when I'm working on the wet palette. You'll notice back in the back there, I have one of the turbo shakers, cyclones, whatever. That thing is the bomb. I use that all the time. So wet palette, no, opposite of dehydrator, shaker and cleaning doodad, all of those get used constantly. They're all really high value things for me. So paint racks, these are from Monument Hobby, and they have several different sizes. They've got the diameters for their ones. These are Vallejo and then AK. That's been really great. They fall out a little bit, but they fit well on back of my work area. I have a couple of these plastic paint racks that I got off of Amazon. They work pretty well. I've gotten rid of almost all of my Army Painter paints, but they're convenient for this size. Citadel pots fit in there as well. That's handy. Another rack that I have This is going to be very messy and horribly lit. This is from Pliodex, and this is really convenient. As you can see, it deals really well with tube paints, and I needed that because I've started working with some heavy body acrylics, and I'm finding that this works out really well. Also, I get a couple of my sort of odds and ends paints that don't fit anywhere else, but they'll fit up there. Again, on my trash desk, I have just a couple odds and ends storage containers. I got them off of Amazon. They fill with beads. They're really great for all my kind of synthetic cheap brushes. That's quite handy. I have, moving back over to here, other things that are very handy for me that get used regularly. This water bottle, it was just a bottle. I got a bunch of them at once off of Amazon. You know, it's condiment type jar bottle, but I use that in conjunction with my wet palette to re-moisten the sponges. I use that all the time. One nice thing about the tops, about these Monument Hobby, is that it gives me a whole lot of space for crap on top, but I have a paintbrush rack that I got off of like Cults or something for free. I keep a couple jars here. These are really handy. I've got one for IPA, for isopropyl alcohol, for cleaning off brushes if something's really bad. I keep some paint thinner, white spirits in one, and then I've got one that has brush cleaner in it. And then I've got a couple little odds and ends jars, not jars, little squirt bottle type things that I use for various odds and ends. This one holds pin wash. I've got another one down here somewhere that holds flow improver. And so these are really handy because, you know, I don't want to be messing around with a big jar of something. So these little dudettes are quite handy. Something else that is very handy are condiment cups. I got these off of Amazon. I use them for storing odds and ends. In this case, these are some 28 millimeter scale heads that I was practicing painting tiny faces because I suck at that. These are great because I store crap in them, but I'll mix up washes, glue, and that type of stuff as well. Okay, so first off, several knives. This hobby knife here is really awesome. When a blade dulls down, you just snap it off, wrap it up in tape or cardboard to put it in the trash. Don't just dump it in there straight because you don't want to cut yourself. You don't want to make a risk for your friendly local garbage people. But something that is really handy about this is this edge here. If you're trimming, if I'm trimming something, I can put the bottom of my thumb here, hold it, and pull in this way. It's a lot safer than using an unguarded blade because I can end up stabbing myself with that versus if I'm carving something here, I've got some protection. This works out really well, and there's some lady in Germany that recommended this. I've been using knives for like 55 years, and I thought this was one of the coolest tricks I'd ever heard. Anyway, one of these cheap plastic scalpels, they come in like a box of 6, really handy. I keep a couple different X-Acto knives around. This one always has a fresh, really sharp blade. This one is sort of my crapware. You know, I use it for cutting around milliput and other stuff. You can see it's just junked out, but it's really handy to have a crappy blade that I don't have to be concerned about. So, several different hobby knives. This scraper is from Monument, and it's the bomb. It works really well for mold lines. I also use it for cleaning out my little palette drop thing here. If paint dries out, this will just scrape in there. But the nice thing about this is the shape of both this end and this end. They've got a sharp point on one end, an angle, and a good scraping face, and then there's a curved body here. And this end and this end are 180 degrees off of each other, right? So one slopes up this way, the other end slopes up the other way. It's just, they're very convenient for scraping things around. Monument Hobbies, that thing's the bomb. Hobby Nippers, invest in good ones. I got some crappy ones with my 3D printer, my resin printer. These are Tamiya. They were spendy. They were maybe 40 bucks or something, but they are incredibly sharp. They're very precise, and they're worth the money. I got a miscellaneous set of tweezers, you know, like 6 different ones. I love these really pointy ones with the angle and the sharp tip. And then there's just some, you know, straight broad ones there. They're really handy. Some hobby clamps. I got those at my local hardware store. They're a little persnickety because they'll scoot off, but handy. Toothbrushes. I keep that in my junk pile with some of my older brushes and whatnot. Very, very handy. I have 2 different sets of files. These ones I got off of Amazon, and they're some cheap brand. I got so frustrated with them that I went to my hobby store, not my hobby store, my hardware store, and got a better set of mini files. Comes with a handle. I don't use that very often. But there's good shapes in here, rounds, flats, you know, triangles, half rounds. Yeah, you know, you can spend $5 and get a set that's worth about $1.50. These were kind of crap, but this from my local hardware store. I use these guys very, very regularly, as you can see. So good set of files. So yes, I have a big ass bag somewhere around here of sanding sticks. These things are the bomb. I can get the end into fine places, and when it starts clogging up, I just trim off the end with one of my cheap ass hobby knives and get a renewal on life. Don't know what grade these are. Frankly, it doesn't matter. I've got like 4 different colors in the set that I have, and yeah, they work great. Absolutely need some of these. In conjunction, I highly recommend getting some sanding pads. These are very, very fine grit. So I keep some sanding paper in my desk. This is, what, 200 grit? 220. And that's great for rough sanding, but if I'm trying to smooth a surface down, then I really want to reach for like this 1,000. It goes 3,000. I think there's a 4 or even a 6,000 set, a piece in the set. This stuff works great because it's flexible. It'll go around things. It's worked really, really, really well. If I'm doing plinths or surfaces of armor where I need to smooth something out, I'll start with sandpaper a piece and then finish it off with this, and then, you know, the paint primer will take care of getting me a lovely surface. A paint spatula. Since I've started to work with heavy-bodied acrylics out of the tube, this stuff has really become, this tool has become very helpful. Yes, you know, I could squeeze something out of the tube of paint, but I'm a klutz and I'd end up emptying out half the tube, so I use this guy, scrape some out, and there you go, Bob's your uncle. Rulers and straight edges. Just get you a couple of good metal ones. That coupled with the pad that's down here, really good help. So yeah, good straight edges are a boon, and I do occasionally use the measuring. All right, so one of my biggest helps are these lovely dowels. That's an 1.5-inch dowel. I got like a 6-foot length. I had a friend with a chop saw cut me these off so that the ends were square. I used to have a whole bunch of home improvement gear. I don't anymore. The first couple that I sawed myself, I just got a bad cheesy end and then they wouldn't stay put. I have some poster putty here that's also indispensable. You can find that in packs. But these dowels are just so flexible because I can use a mini drill. This is a cheap one that I got that's, frankly, I think you're better off just having a nice little manual one. This ain't great. But, you know, I can drill holes in here for mounting, for pinning figures on top for painting. But this is great because it's nice and long. My hands, I have very large meat hooks, and so I've got these larger that lets me easily grip pieces and deal with them. Like right here. Makes it really easy to work on a piece. Yeah, so they're great. Brent from Goobertown puts magnets in his. I started with that, but I haven't kept up with it, but certainly something you can consider. I keep lots of paper clips in my drawer for doing things like pinning pieces that I'm working on. I've got some cheap diagonal cutters, wire cutters. I've got a good pair of needle nose with a nice tip on them so that I can bend things around. Those are pretty indispensable. Being able to organize stuff close at hand is wonderful. My hobby workspace, this is literally half a sheet of plywood that I had Home Depot cut in half lengthwise. I got good quality wood that was good surface. I gave it a quick sand. I just slapped some cheap primer on it, 2 coats, and boom, done. Set that down here. It's not even clamped, but the weight of everything on there, it's not off balance. It's good enough. And so I've got a great workspace here. But, you know, drawers to be able to organize like my tools. I've got all of my enamels and inks and sponges in one drawer. I've got diorama basing stuff here. All my sandpaper and clips. Glue and other, you know, fastening type medium is in another one. Finding a workspace where you can have handy drawers to store things and hopefully keep some semblance of order is quite handy. Also, I have several boxes in the various drawers so that, you know, it just helps with organization, right? I just throw crap in there, like all my oil-based stuff lays in there. So there you go. All right, so that is sort of all of my handy things that haven't worked. I've generally gotten rid of. I don't want to keep them around and clutter my area, so I tend to get rid of things that don't work. If I find I haven't used something in a couple months, I'll generally make an evaluation and it'll end up in the trash or, you know, maybe stuck over in one of my closets. I'm gesturing like you can see it. But I honestly try to keep low value things out of my space. I have enough junk around. So if something's not working, if something's not useful, I get rid of it. For example, I got blue stuff because some internet influencer said I needed to have some. I have never used this stuff. I'm keeping it around probably for another couple months, but this would be an example of something that really should get pitched. Don't overly, I fully understand the irony of what I'm about to say here. Don't overly clutter your workspace with things that are low value. Oh, I just saw something else that's the bomb. So Citadel paint containers suck. There are those who have spilled, those who have not yet spilled, and those who have spilled and figured out that something like this will save your workspace and help you have a whole lot less profanity in your life. So another really handy thing there. So there you have it. That's some of my gear. It's some things that I find useful. Like I've mentioned, if I don't use something regularly, I get rid of it from my area over there. I have enough junk on my desk already, and I just try to keep low value things out of my space. Yeah, hopefully that was helpful. Remember, be kind, experiment, learn. At the end of the day, it's just plastic and paint. Goodbye.